many here have ever felt imprisoned? You ever felt that way? You ever feel like you're locked behind some bar, some gate? You can't seem to get around, get through? There's different examples of what I'm trying to get at. Sometimes a job can imprison us. Can it not? We become chained to this occupation. Sometimes we get a job with a nice paycheck and we gear our financial situation, our budget, around our paycheck. And as time rolls on and we begin to realize I'm not enjoying my job, but you know what? I can't go anywhere else and make the same money I'm making here. So where are we stuck? We're stuck in that job. Then you have those kind of jobs that are like dead ends. You just can't seem to get anywhere. We also have marital situations that sometimes we feel like we're imprisoned to. Circumstances within our family relationships that we seem bound down to. We have medical conditions that seems to imprison us. This is seen, as far as an example, there's a lot of different things. But one example is, look at allergies. There's a little girl in Gabrielle's class that is allergic to milk. Can you really imagine trying to go through your life being allergic to milk? Now, would that not give you a certain feeling of imprisonment? Being chained down to something? Perhaps something like loneliness has you in prison. Perhaps something like sin has you feeling in prison. Whatever has imprisoned you behind iron gates, I hope our study this morning gives you hope for opening up and breaking free from those bonds. I want you to look back again with me at what Bob, you did a great job with that scripture reading. Acts chapter 12. I want you to think back of what's going on there. First of all, who's the bad guy here in Acts 12? Well, in the part of the text that we read, it's King Herod. King Herod Agrippa, to be more specific. King Herod is trying to make himself look very kingly for the Roman government. They don't need to see me as some little weak man. They need to see me as a king. Because he was afraid Rome would just basically snuff him out. Because he wasn't part of the Roman rulers. He wasn't Roman. He was a Jewish king. And basically he wanted to gain favor with him. How did he do this? Well, he sought out James, the apostle. Here's the Jews all in an uproar about Jesus and his apostles, so I'm going to go get one of them, and I'm just going to lock his head off with a sword. So that's what he did. Acts chapter 12, verse 2 tells us, King Herod struck down James with the sword. Now, due to the Passover feast, he ran out of time, so he just had Peter arrested. So with all the Passover festivities going on, he just had Peter waiting in a jail cell, waiting to be executed. Herod even puts 16 soldiers. It's 4 companies of 4. 16 men on the guard of Peter in the prison. Didn't want him going anywhere, did he? While under this guard, Peter, being all stressed out, went to sleep. He was awakened by an angel and led past the guards and the gate to freedom. When they come to this gate, a big iron gate, sealing them off from the city, They had to stop. No. When Peter and the angel come to the gate, it opened of its own accord. And Peter went on to join his brethren in prayer in the house of Mary. No superhuman, strength. No act of Samson. No flying through the air. They simply walked up to the gate and it opened. Call it what you want. Providence of God, miracle. What you have here is God looking after His children, His child. Now, as we reflect back on these happenings, I want us to look at it from our perspective, from our current lives, our situations of living today. Because some of us are facing these iron gates that are stopping us from moving forward with our lives, both as Christians and as adults. And my friends, we need to learn and look at things from a godly perspective and understand there is no gate, there is no iron gate that exists on this earth that cannot be opened with God at our side and Christ as our strength. None. So first of all, I want you to take note of what Peter was doing. Our first point together is Peter slept. He was sleeping. A lot was going on, was it not? We just talked about all this stuff. Members of the church being put to death. James was just killed by the sword. Peter has been arrested, thrown in prison, waiting his execution. But like I said, Peter's so stressed out, so just, I don't know what's going to happen. He couldn't even close his eyes. No. Peter slept. The city of Jerusalem itself was caught up in the great festival of Passover. Celebration of Passover. You had all this, do you not realize the frenzy that the Jewish leadership was worked up into because James had just been executed? Think back for a moment when Christ was crucified. What was the conditions? What was the situation like with the Jewish nation? All those people, what were they doing? Calmly sitting there waiting for Jesus to die? No. They were screaming at the top of their lungs, "Crucify him." They were spitting on him and making fun out of him, calling for his death. You ever look back on history and the act of execution? I don't know how a parent can take a child and witness something as graphic as a man being hanged. I don't know how I could take my family to an open courtyard to watch a guillotine come down and sever the head from a body. But our history as mankind, that's exactly what kind of things you had going on. In Europe, 2 centuries ago, that's what you had going on. You had beheadings taking place in public places so people could watch. And they brought their kids to that. Right here in the United States, when a horse thief was caught, that was instant death, because you didn't have to have a trial. You were taken and you were hung in the closest tree they could find, and they had the right by law to do it. Who do you think stood there and witnessed that execution? Families. Children. This is what happens to horse thieves. Pirate bodies were left hanging in the entrances of harbors to try to quench the pirate